Hello, everybody. This is your old pal Double T coming to you live from the Double T Podcast Network, welcoming you all in and wishing you all a happy day. I would first like to start off with a brief moment of silence for the now two fatal air crashes that happened Wednesday in Washington and tonight in Philadelphia. My heart goes out to the families of both of these senseless tragedies in Washington on Wednesday, where 67 passengers from a commuter airline coming in from Kansas, landing at Reagan International, were seconds away from touchdown when they were struck by a Black Hawk helicopter. Don't know details in terms of why, what, where. The only thing that we have learned to this point is that there is a huge shortage of air traffic controllers in this country, thanks to President Obama, I do believe. The tower at Reagan is supposed to have 30 air traffic controllers on, and they only had 19. And to make matters worse, the supervisor that was on that evening let somebody who was supposed to be sitting in the seat next to the controller that was managing these two aircraft go home early. So now you hear the rumblings coming from the Oval Office and the Secretary of Transportation about, and you've been hearing it, DEI hires. And they are cleaning out every single department in Washington of DEI hires. Now, you say diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I say, did not earn it. The definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion is a term used to describe programs and policies that encourage representation and participation of diverse groups of people, including people of different genders, races, and ethnicities, abilities and disabilities, religions and cultures, ages, sexual orientations, and people with diverse backgrounds, experiences, and expertise. Now, I don't have any problem with that. However, what I have a problem with is when you take less qualified individuals for jobs that affect people's lives. Obama let 1,000 air traffic controllers, one who actually had a perfect score on their test, go because they wanted to bring in diverse, equitable, and inclusive candidates. But see, they're reading the room wrong. Okay? That's like saying, it's the same thing as saying, I have to have so many black people, so many gay people, so many Asian people. That's all bullshit. This is the United States of America, where everybody is equal. But merit-based employment is where we are now, and that is where we should be. You hear President Trump yelling from the rooftops. Well, he's not yelling from the rooftops. He's behind the Oval Office desk. They're looking into all of these things, and they are cleaning out department by department because you can't hire somebody to fulfill a quota. They have to be skilled at the positions that they're being hired for. That is a common sense approach to government. That is a common sense approach to life. There are plenty of jobs in this country that people can apply for. So I'm just saying that in the coming months, this administration is purging all DEI hires from government jobs. I mean, if they're merit based and they can perform the duties of their job, they're going to stay. But if you can't, you got to go. Please don't be confused on what the definition of DEI is. Okay? We don't want quotas. We want merit. We don't care what color your skin is. We don't care what your sexual orientation is. We don't care what your ethnicity is. If you can do the job, you're going to get it. And tonight also, there was a tragic plane crash coming out of Philadelphia. Plane just took off. Sad case. There's a girl, she's under 18 years old. This was all being financed by a charity because she has a life threatening illness. And they were flying her into Philadelphia like once a month to get treatments and then flying her back. And I do believe there were 6 people on board that plane. The plane took off, and very shortly after takeoff, came right back down. It came right down in the middle of a street near a mall. And when it went into the street, obviously the jet fuel exploded, but it also went so deep into the ground that gas lines exploded also. So there's another tragedy. Another 6 of our brethren are gone. So, we've lost 73 people in a matter of a couple of short days. And we as a nation pray for their souls and their families. And it's just so tragic. We need to understand that, and I told you this in my last podcast, we need to understand that the changes that are being made right now with this administration are they're going to offend people. Okay. I mean, half the country, a little better than half the country voted for Trump. And then there were the Kamala supporters. And the Kamala supporters are up in arms because they don't like what Trump is doing. And there's a lot of people that do like what Trump is doing because Trump wants to get us back to a position where we are running our government with common sense and, trimming the fat out of our budget. And he's put together an incredible team of people to do that. You want to talk about DEI hires, all right? General Mark Milley, who retired. And he got one of those preemptive pardons from Joe, which I still don't understand. Preemptive pardons. If anybody would like to drop a comment, I don't understand what the purpose of a preemptive pardon is if someone has not committed a crime. By you giving somebody a preemptive pardon, you are just basically saying that they committed a crime. They just haven't been charged for it yet. And Mark Milley really just couldn't stand the sight of him. They were doing drag shows on military bases, and I mean, this guy was just out of his mind. And what they discovered was he was calling his counterpart in China. All right, he was calling the head general in China, and he was telling him, "Hey, listen, if there ever is a plan that's developed that we're going to attack you, I will let you know." Now, when I heard that, my jaw dropped to the floor because number one, that's an act of treason. When you go against the president of the United States, when you're a 5-star or 4-star general, whatever he was, and you deliberately go behind your boss to our number one enemy, that is treasonous. Okay. And that means jail. And that means you get stripped of your rank, you get stripped of your pension, you're done. Okay. But there's this little thing called the preemptive pardon, and I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. However, our man Pete Hegseth, Secretary of the Department of Defense, has already put in something that is going to remove one of his stars. And they're looking into doing a couple of other things that they can do. They've already removed his picture from the Pentagon. They are going to do everything they possibly can to disgrace this guy. And as well they should. Liz Cheney. They have evidence on Liz Cheney that she witness tampered during the January 6th hearings. They have text messages between her and Cassidy Hutchinson and how she coached Cassidy Hutchinson. That story about how Donald Trump, they were driving by the Capitol and Trump wanted to go to the Capitol and they said, "No, sir, we have to go to the White House." And how Trump jumped over the seat. You're talking about a 76-year-old guy, 74-year-old guy, jumped over the seat, grabbed the wheel, and when the guy said, "No, sir, we have to go to the West Wing," that he went for the guy's throat. Come on. It never happened. It never happened. So here again, Cheney got a preemptive pardon from Uncle Joe. So all these idiots that did damage to our country, hurt our country in different ways, wasted millions of dollars in taxpayers' money. They just get to live their lives as free and easy as they want to. So, I've been watching closely. As I told you last time, I've been watching closely the Senate confirmation hearings. Right now on Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi, FBI Director nominee Kash Patel, and Department of National Intelligence nominee Tulsi Gabbard. I can't understand the audacity of some of these senators, Republicans and Democrats. There's no bipartisanship here. What is wrong with these people? So there's 2 rounds of questionings. First time they get 7 minutes, second time they get 5 minutes, and then there's a closed door session. I don't know how much time they get in that. So there's 3 sessions with the nominee. Okay? And they act like fucking children. All right? Some of my favorites: Hawaiian Senator Mazie Hirono. Bernie's always a favorite. I don't even remember all of their names, but they ask questions and they won't let you answer them. It's my time. It's my time. It's my time. Well, you ask a question. Do you want an answer? All right. So here's the biggest question of the first round was, will you say to me right now that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Well, these guys aren't stupid. That's a gotcha question. So everybody said Joe Biden was the duly elected president of the 2020 election, and he served his term. That's not good enough for them. They want a yes or no answer. Yes or no. Did he win? Did he not win? That was the biggest one. Second biggest one, especially with Pam Bondi, was, well, they did it with all of them. When Trump gives you an illegal order, will you say no? Well, first of all, why are you automatically assuming the president's going to give you an illegal order? Bondi did it perfectly. She goes, "I will follow the law. I will follow the Constitution." That's what they all said. Okay. One of my favorite interactions of the day was Bernie Sanders with who was he with? Kash Patel. And he had this huge whiteboard behind him with a onesie on it. You know a onesie, right? Ones you put in little babies, just a one piece with the snaps on the bottom so you could change the diaper quick. And I guess Kash was a member of some group or something years ago, and they now have a onesie out that said something on it that, I mean, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't anything, no big deal. And Bernie's over there and says, "Do you support the onesies? The onesies. Do you support the onesies?" I mean, he was out of his mind. And then they got talking about pharmaceuticals. And Patel looked at him and said, Senator, you want to talk about pharmaceuticals? Why don't we talk about the fact that out of every U.S. senator in the Senate, you took the most money from out of anybody from pharmaceutical companies, and Bernie just exploded. It was absolutely beautiful. But I have to say this: these people better get their shit together, because what they are doing is they're hurting the departments that so desperately need this leadership. FBI, Director of National Intelligence, Attorney General. We need these people in place, and the Democrats are just playing games. So, get your shit together, Democrats. And you know something? There's about 3 or 4 rhinos on that committee. John Cornyn of Texas is not looking to vote for Tulsi Gabbard. And I got news for John Cornyn of Texas, which is a deep red state. If you vote against her, I guarantee you won't get reelected. Somebody send this podcast to John Cornyn. The whole system of how this is done has to be changed. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't know how. Haven't really given it much thought. But this circus that you're watching on TV right now, or that I watch for you, it's out of control. Doesn't work anymore. Because these people they're very low IQ people. They're not smart. They're not looking at the big picture. Okay? And it's all about money. It's the money that goes into their pockets. That's why we need term limits, folks. And Trump is going to push for term limits. So anyway, I told you I was going to try to get these out a little faster now that things are rolling, and I will do that. So remember, life is not granted to anybody. So do your due diligence and take your time to stop and smell the roses. They smell wonderful. And never forget, when you ever have an opportunity to do a random act of kindness for a stranger, please do so. For if you do a random act of kindness for someone, it makes the world a much better place to live. So until we meet again, my friends, this is your old pal, Double T, saying ciao, ciao.
Memories press between the pages of my mind. Memories sweeping through the ages just like wine. Quiet thoughts come floating down and settle softly to the ground like golden autumn leaves around my feet. I touch them and they burst apart with sweet memories. Sweet memories of holding hands and red bouquets and twilights trimmed in purple haze, laughing eyes and simple ways, quiet nights and